Hey everybody, Bill in Virginia. Just a short video today. I want to show fellow modelers a resource that you may or may not be aware of that's available online. Some of you folks probably know of what's called the Sanborn fire insurance maps. They were maps that from about the late 1800s through the mid 1900s that were put together for many cities across the United States for fire insurance purposes. But for model railroaders, they show a lot of detail. They are very accurate. They show buildings, they show layouts, they show the way railroads built things, in addition to a lot of other historical details. Like what you see on the screen right now is a piece of a map for my hometown of Independence, Iowa. What you see on the left is what became the Rock Island Railroad. It was a branch line that ran through the west end of Independence. What's neat is you can see that there's like a small passenger depot from way back in the day when passenger service went through Independence on this line. It also shows a little bit of sidings, and it shows where the buildings are, and if you can, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit and get over there, which of course I can't. But in a lot of these, it shows the footprint, the sizes of the buildings. In some of the bigger buildings, it will even have notations for construction materials. Very handy if you're wanting to do some prototype modeling, or if you're wanting to do like a design element. If you've got a particular city in mind and you want to do a scene, these Sanborn fire insurance maps, again, they're dated, but they can show some great detail as far as how the railroad laid things out. And I'm going to show you a few others that I pulled up here from different places in Iowa. So this one, downtown Waterloo, Iowa. This was the Illinois Central Gulf main yard in sort of the north central part of the city. Shows the turntable roundhouse, car repair shops, and again, the way the tracks were laid out in the yard. This was from about the 1920s. If you notice down in the far bottom left, not corrected since 1942. So it shows how the tracks used to be. I'm going to pull up another one here. This one is in Olwine, Iowa. This is the Chicago Great Western Railroad shops. So the 3 or 4 diagonal lines that you see on the left side, that's the transfer pit. So they had transfer tables that would pick up on the tracks that are sort of the center upper of the map, and those would go into the shops, which is the large pink building shown in the middle. This is a piece of one map. There's other maps that show the rest of the yard layout, the turntables, the engine service facilities. I was looking at one yesterday for Waterloo, Iowa, that showed the old Rath Packing Company and how the tracks went into that meat packing facility. A lot of great information. And the next one that I'm going to show is one from Sioux City, Iowa. Some of you that maybe remember seeing some of my very early videos, and I was talking about my HO scale layout and where I got inspiration for some of the complicated track work. Besides being on Amtrak going through Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, this is where I got some of that inspiration. Take a look at this. This is from the early 1900s, and those are not elevated crossings. Can you imagine the amount of railroading that was going on in this location at the height of the railroad eras in the United States? There are tracks going every direction. There are multiple grade crossings. It is just action-packed. In N scale, a person could model something like this. HO scale and other scales, you could pick elements out of this to model and have some stub tracks just to represent a lot of the crossings that you see here. But these maps are wonderful. And here's the cool thing is that These are online through the Library of Congress, and you can download them. You can download them as JPEG files. There's other ways that you can get them so that you can have them for reference. Now, the maps do not necessarily cover every city, but they do tend to cover a lot. And they cover the core areas, the older downtown and the older industrial areas that used to be in cities. So if you're doing some modeling and you're wanting something that's out in the country or it's fairly new, this isn't necessarily going to help you. But if you want to model something back in the day when the tracks were all there and there was a lot of activity, these maps are great. So what you can do is go online, put the city in that you're interested in. So like what I would do is I put in Independence, Iowa, and then Sanborn, Sanborn, maps, and Library Congress. And it will pop up. It may not pop up right at the very top of your search field, but if you look a little bit, you can go down. It will then, if there's maps available, it will populate some icons that show those maps and the number of maps in a set. You will have to click on those, look at those. You'll be able to tell which ones have the railroad lines in it. You'll see the lines on the icons as they pop up. And you can start to look. I was looking at the Rath Packing Company in Waterloo, Iowa yesterday, and it was showing the icing tracks. It showed the size of the buildings. It showed the materials that the buildings were made out of. Just tremendous amounts of good information. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because I'm thinking about what my next project's going to be. I still got a lot of work to do on my two layouts, but I'm already thinking ahead that I want to, do some more modeling in N scale and do something with like a switching layout. It's just, I don't know if I'm going to build it or not, but I'm just having some fun looking at areas where I can get information. The Sanborn fire insurance maps are an area that I can get a lot of great information and see how the railroads laid their tracks out through any place. So anyway, that's it for this one. Take care and keep having fun with your layouts.